up YouTube? Nerdish Geek here. And as you saw from the intro I made, this is review, thoughts, opinions, controversy, and also I forgot to add debate, but we'll get to that. Anyway, first of all, my review, 5 stars, amazing, amazing, amazing. I thought that the movie was everything we'd expect and more. I think they did an incredible job with putting David and Matt together on screen. I think their chemistry between the two of them was just phenomenal. I think that the expectations were set really high for this, and I think they met them. I really do. I was really pleased with it, very satisfied with it. Now, my thoughts and opinions are, I don't understand this new race of aliens that we were introduced to. They really weren't important to the storyline, at least not to me. I didn't find anything having to do with them important at all, enough that they even needed to be in the show. I do wish that we had had more former companions. So, with that being said, yes, we'll get on to the controversy. Okay. If you have not seen this yet, please, for right now, just push stop, because I'm going to spoil the crap out of it for you. So if you haven't seen it, push stop. I don't want to ruin it for you. If you don't mind being spoiled, if you don't mind knowing how it's going to end, by all means, keep watching. If you have seen it, keep watching. Okay. I had to go back and rewatch it. The screensaver just popped up, but I just barely watched it again. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to go in my mail and grab something that I sent there because I needed it. But I had to go back and I had to rewatch it. And I had to understand something about it. Like, I needed to know what everybody was talking about. Okay? So, if you watched it, and I caught this the first time, but I needed to know, like, I wanted to know exactly what was said. I wanted to know, you know, exactly the exact words used. Okay? So, if you watched it, which I'm assuming you did, because you're still watching this, okay? If you watched it, then you know that John Hurt's doctor is the doctor that burns up Gallifrey. And he's also the former incantation of, you know, David's doctor and Matt's doctor. And we're, you know, we have David and Matt together now, and now John Hurt. And Tom Baker. Tom Baker was in it. You're right here. Anyway, that was kind of awesome. It's Christmas. Yay! Anyway, John Hurt was a war doctor, as they called him. And, but he is the doctor. Okay? So, basically, people are confused now. Okay? Because he is, when they were in the room, and when they were locked up, as we realized the door wasn't even locked. But when they were locked up in that, like, dungeon, they were talking about what they did. And he was like, you know, you were the one that burnt them all up. And David says you were the one that burnt them all up, or killed them all, or something like that. And Matt corrects him and says, you know, what we did. You know, because David says that's what you did, and Matt says what we did. Because they're all the same person. There's also a few other references to that. Like, for instance, when John Hurt goes back to that moment, okay, which is his present. That's John's present. Hasn't happened yet. And David and Matt travel back to that point. Okay? And they're all, you know, they're saying, you know, I didn't want to know that you existed. Like, I denied your existence. I did, I kept you a secret even to myself. These things. Okay? You were a doctor, you had to make a decision, when no one else could. They're going through these motions. And they said, you don't have to do it alone. And they were all three of them were going to burn the Gallifrey, keep things on course. But then they got the brilliant idea, well, let's freeze them instead of burn them. And then we can go find them. A little foreshadowing there. While they do this, when they do this, okay, they go and they go to freeze Gallifrey. You see the little, like, monitors in the war room where the Time Lords are. And they're, like, talking to him. They're telling him, well, this is what we're going to do. And he's like, well, we'll be frozen in a moment in time. We won't have anything. And they're like, no, you'll have hope, which is more than you have right now. Because the alternative would be burning it. And they don't want to do that again. Okay? Well, so then he was like, oh, that would take, years and years and centuries and all of this other stuff. And he was like, oh, well, don't worry about it. I've been working on it for a long time. And then you start seeing from Doctor 1, 2, 3, 4. And they start showing little cameos of all the doctors. And they were like, you could say I've been working on it all my lives. Okay? At one point, it is said, this is something like, this is like my worst nightmare or something. Something was said, but anyway, he said all 12 of them together. And then you get a correction. Somebody says, no, sir, all 13. And then there's a cut to a cameo of our 12th Doctor in a TARDIS. We know that motion. And he's in a TARDIS. Take a look at the picture. So you saw the picture. Okay? Peter's eyes. See that? Ooh. Now, they're saying this is a cameo. Okay? They're like, yep, the 12th or 13th Doctor has made a cameo. Now, is he the 12th or is he the 13th? Well, that depends on your perception. That's where the controversy comes in. People are debating as to whether or not John Hurt's Doctor is actually a legitimate Doctor, as far as, the 12 Doctors. We don't know. But what we do know is what we were exposed to. So what we were exposed to is that, yes, he is a Doctor. Yes, he is a Time Lord. He is a TARDIS. He is a sonic screwdriver. David tells him at one point that he's a Doctor. Matt tells him he's a Doctor. There's certain dialect that goes on. And when they say, what we did, because they're all the same person. It's just different incantations of them. And in my mind, basically, the way that was written was, he's not just a wart, he is the Doctor. Because even when he puts his hand over the red button, he was like, go be the men that go be the Doctor that I couldn't be. Because he had to make that decision, he had to do that, and that was just like one of those moments in time where, and obviously every Doctor since him had regretted it. There was regret there was guilt, there was, they were punishing themselves for that choice to kill everybody on that planet. Because at the time, that was what they thought, that's what he thought had to happen. It was the only way that he could stop the Time War. So, to me, yes, John Hurt is a Doctor. Which means Peter, when Matt regenerates, will be number 13. Now, what does this mean for, you know, Doctor Who fans? Now, it means... Wait, that's just kind of been thrown off kilter, right? Because we had an uncounted Doctor. Also, this whole talk of, you know, there's only X amount of regenerations allowed per Doctor. You know, for the Doctor in the total. And so they're thinking, you know, well, Peter couldn't be a Doctor because there was only 12 regenerations for the Doctor. But then again, John's didn't count because it was a potion. I don't know. These are what the forums and the boards are blowing up with, okay? And so now this is a controversy, and you're going to start seeing a lot of posts about this. You're going to start seeing people that are trying to think this through in their brains, and they're trying to rationalize it, and they're trying to, you know, decipher it, and they're trying to be like, oh, this is it, this is it, this is it. But I can tell you right now, without a shadow of a doubt, there are 13 Doctors with Peter. They've already announced Peter as the 12th Doctor. So, are they going to just scrap all of Season 8 after the Christmas special? Because they have written this way? And up until this point, we knew a certain thing, and now you've got to figure it out. People are also speculating that because they were able to save Gallifrey, that when they do find it, that it will be, they'll be so thankful that they'll give them more regenerations, which is how we'll end up with more seasons. That's a good thought, actually. But is it going to happen? We don't know. We don't know how this is going to play out. And nobody from, you know, Doctor Who has commented on it. Because it's like one of those things where, you know, you just threw a wrench into the works. Because now, you know, my Doctor's the 10th Doctor. I love David Tennant. Now I find out David's the 11th Doctor? Gee, thanks for that. And everything up until this point yesterday. That's how it was. Like, you buy anything with David Tennant or 10th Doctor. What? It's... What? You gonna, like, you don't recall everything so you can change it now? I'm just curious to know how they're going to explain this. And I'm curious to know if they are going to consider John Hurt's Doctor an actual official Doctor, which I think they should, because he is. Because everything we know about the Doctor... And here's the thing. Why would he be a former incantation of David and Matt's Doctor if he's not the Doctor? Why would they keep referring to it as we? What we did. It wasn't what you did that had this effect on me. It's what we did. He's a doctor. I don't care what anybody... He's a doctor. And that being said, whether he's a war doctor or he's just the doctor, or it doesn't matter. He is a former incantation of what we know today. Guess what? He's a doctor, which makes him countable. Which means Matt Smith is number 12. That's the controversy now that they have caused. Boy, they know how to really just, you know, take something and go whack, and make everybody just like, lose their freaking minds. But yeah. So just go back to that moment. You know, go back to that moment. Record it. Like, I got it on my DVR, like I told you. I just had to rewatch it. And I'll probably have to rewatch it again. But go back to that moment and watch that moment where they say, you know, all 12 of them, and then, no, 13, and then BAM! And how is it possible that they could show a, you know, a doctor that hasn't even happened yet? There's just no explanation at all. Like, they just were just throwing caution to the wind here. Okay, so this cameo, which I'm actually on this, website, and I'll put a link down in the description. It says, Peter Capaldi, I don't know how to pronounce his name, I'm sorry, makes Doctor Who debut in the Day of the Doctor 50th Anniversary special cameo. But following the regeneration of John Hurt's Ward Doctor, will a new Doctor be 12th or number 13? So it goes on to say, Peter made his Doctor Who debut in a blink and miss it cameo during the BBC Sci-Fi Favourites star-studded 50th Anniversary special. The uncredited appearance in the Day of the Doctor came as footage of the role's previous incarnations was repurposed for the feature-length episode's climax, ensuring every Time Lord actor was honored as part of the celebration. 9 other faces of the space adventurer were seen coming together, with Who stars Matt Smith, David Tennant, and John Hurt, whose storyline in the TARDIS owner's various guises pooled resources to calculate a seemingly impossible solution to save Gallifrey from Dalek attack. A piercing glare from the 12th Doctor then flashed upon the screen, following a brief sight of a TARDIS-style lever being pulled. 4th Doctor Tom Baker also makes a surprise showing 32 years after he put down his sonic screwdriver as a character, hinting to Smith's Doctor that his efforts did save Gallifrey from destruction. And while it sounded as if it may have been Baker's voice announcing number 13's arrival, viewers pondered whether the words were actually spoken by Peter, indicating that the Glasgow-born actor may soften his Scottish accent for the international hit show. More pressing for Whovians, however, is the thought that the acknowledgement of such a number, as well as the regeneration afforded to Hurt's redeemed Ward Doctor, seemingly interrupting the Time Lord's I can't say that frickin' word, of incarnations, basically chronological incarnations, could address the aspect of characters' mortality. According to widely accepted Who folklore, it is laid down in 1976 episode The Deadly Assassin that a Doctor can only regenerate 12 times in a cycle, allowing 13 incarnations. Peter 55 was unveiled as the show's new lead in August. A lifelong fan of the show, he takes over the part from ongoing Dr. Matt when the 11th Doctor performer regenerates in the Christmas special. Former The Thick of It star Capaldi said, "At the time, being asked to play the Doctor is an amazing privilege." And a lot of people are speculating on Peter Cushing. You know, a lot of people are speculating on, whether or not he should be added. It's all up to interpretation, to be honest with you. And to be completely frank, I believe Peter is number 13. So the whole idea that there's only, 12 regenerations and 13 incarnations, that that would mean that this show has to end with Peter, or 13 incantations or incarnations. That means the show has to end with Peter, because he would be the 13th. There would be 12 regenerations, he would be the 13th. And so that's kind of a hint to the next season, if that's the case. So that's kind of sad, because that means, it's going to come to an end. But I don't know, I'm only speculating. So, if that's being said, it's awesome, it's great, whatever. I'm waiting it out. I want to read more on it. I want to research more on it. I want to know more about it. So, stay tuned. I will definitely keep you updated with anything that I learn. And, Hope you enjoyed this, and definitely let me know what you think in the comments. And, you know, head over to my Facebook page, link in the comments down in the description down here. Head over to my Facebook page, you know, leave me a comment. You know, just leave me something. You can email me, you can send me a private message, whatever. Just, you know, interact. Let's get a discussion going on this, because I really want to know what other people think. But yeah, I think that we now have 13 doctors. With Matt's regeneration, we'll have number 13. So, there it is. But, I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope that, you know, eventually we can make some sense of this, and, yeah. So, my friends, until next time, geek on.